Today we're going to be looking at our first video in this series of videos that will be teaching us basics of web programming. Today we'll be looking at HTML and how we can use some of the basic HTML elements. And then after that there will be other videos. We'll be talking about CSS, I'll be talking about JavaScript and PHP probably. But today we're going to be focusing on HTML and we're going to look at the basic HTML elements. Before we get started, let's head over and download our text editor. The text editor is what we'll be using to put our code, our markup into, and then we can run from there. Personally, I prefer to use Sublime. So to use Sublime, we head over to sublimetext.com, and for me, I'm a Mac user, that's why I have download for OS X. If you're a Windows user, you have the option to download for Windows. And hit the download button. Once the download is done, we open the text editor. We have a blank text editor like I do. And then we come down here and then we select the type of language or file we want to be editing. In this case, it's going to be HTML. And now let's get started with the markup. So first of all, we're going to need to put in or type in this lines, and then I'll quickly talk about what they do. So this one basically tells and defines that this is a HTML5 document, and then inside every web page, the way the browser reads it is we have everything going to an HTML, and inside the HTML it just tells us it's an HTML document, and then inside that we have the head. The head is what holds the information about the document. We have our meta tags, we have our titles, we have our references to external files. It could be CSS, best practice, and always put JavaScript not in the header. Some people do that, but it's not best practice because the page will load first and load the JavaScript first, and if it's a heavy one, it could look like the page is rendering a little slow. So we'll put all of that in the head. The body is what the human being will usually see in the browser, so we put the things that we want visible to the viewer in the body tag. And after that, we're going to be looking at some other elements like the H1, the P tag, the spans, and other things like that. So the title, I forgot about that. The title is the title of your document, and usually you see that at the top of your browser. In this case, we have Sublime Text. The text editor has your title. Basic HTML markup has a title in this one. So whatever we specify here, so let's say basic HTML as our title, and oh my bad, we have a typo there. So once we do that, if you hit save, you will get a pop-up or try to choose what you want to save as. In this case, we'll call it basic HTML. HTML.html, and we'll save this just for the purpose of this tutorial. We will save this on the desktop. So on my desktop I have the file. If I want to see how I'm going at any point in time, I could just open the file. So you could just double click it if you want, and then you will get the basic HTML. In this case we have an empty page because we haven't yet put anything here. We just put the body of or the structure of where we want to put our content. So first of all, we're going to look at the header tag. The header tag is usually used for headings. We have different types of headers from H1 to H6, and in this case we're going to just use the ones we think we need, and then we'll see how we go from there. Actually, let's use all of them from H1 to H6. So let's say, for example, we have an H1 tag. And then usually it's always the best practice, as soon as you open a tag, always close it, because if you do not close it, you could forget about it, and then it's going to mess up with your document. In this case, I'll call it, this is a H1. And then if we save that and then we'll go back to the browser and refresh, we will see it shows our this is a H1. Usually it's good practice to use your H tags according to our importance. H1 is usually the biggest, and it goes all the way to H6, which is the smallest. So if we go ahead and just copy this and duplicate it several times and change our H1 to H2, and then we do that for this as well, and then change H3, and then we do the same thing for this H4, and then we do that all the way till we get to our H6, H5, then H6, H6. If we save that and then we head back to the browser, we would see that we have all our headings, and as I told you before, there's different sizes and we can use them as we want. So that covers our header tags. Another element we would probably be looking at is the paragraph tag. The paragraph tag just usually indicates the body, and in this case, let's say for example we have a paragraph and then we call it a paragraph. I'll just call this paragraph. If I run this, I'm gonna get that in a pretty much like a text to the page. One thing we need to keep in mind is whenever we use paragraph tag and header tags, they usually take the full width of the screen. So we're going to also look at some other things like the span tags and the tables and all the little things like that. So I'm going to remove this now that we've quickly been introduced to the header tags and paragraph, and then we're going to try to see if we can make a page with this. So let's say we have a header tag, and then we have a paragraph tag, and then we have a header tag afterwards. And also there's also another tag, which is the bhar tag. Is usually used to break. It's more like a break, so you can break the lines of a text with that. You can put space things out. It's usually not the best practice to use this all the time. Choose when to use them, because whatever you use at the break, the space is usually gonna be consistent. So in cases where you don't want too much gap, you might not be able to do that unless you use a break. We will look into how we can easily manage spaces when we get to the CSS tutorial. So in this case, we have the break tag. I'm going to refresh this because things have changed. We have a different content, and then we head back here. We're going to use some more paragraphs just to see what we have, and then say we have that paragraph. You can type along as I want. The link to whatever to this tutorial is going to be in the description, and then you can practice at your spare time. So this has that, and also we can also put some more break tags just so we want just for now. And then once we've played with that, there's another tag called the div tag. The div tag is usually used as a wrapper. Usually I try to use it as a container, but some people use it as a text. So what we could do, some people will do it like this, just like they will do a p tag. But what the div tag does is it takes the full width, but it's very, very strong. So it takes the full width of the page as well, but you might not tell the difference between this and that until you're trying to apply your CSS. So the best practice is to use the div as a form of window or building to host all your content, and then you can put things inside respectively. So in this case, I'm going to put my p tags inside the div, and then it's good for indentation. Always indent your code properly as a good practice so you can easily read through it, just like I've done. Well, because I'm using the free Sublime text, so don't worry about this. I keep getting the pop-up. I need to purchase it sometime, but today is not that day. So we're going to also look at image tags. Another thing for image tag is we could just chuck everything in this div actually, and then we put another paragraph tag just to say we're about to put an image tag in there. We put our image tag in there, and the image tag has the source. The source is where the image actually is in the server, and we have our image tag. In this thing we have an open and closing brackets. Usually good to follow that syntax. You will notice that the image tag doesn't have a closing image. That is because we don't need that for this one. And so I have an image tag like that, and then we run this on the browser. We will see that we have an image and we have our image here. We also can look at links. So I'm going to put that here again just to say we have a link coming up, and then in there I'm going to put this. I'm going to put I'm going to put the BR tag here just so we can space out the gap between the image and the link. And then once I put the link, how the link works is the link usually tells us, the href tells us where we want our page to link to. It could be the same place on the page, it could be to another page. In this case, we're going to link to another page. And then this tells us where we want to link to, and this is the text that we see on the page that we are able to click on to link to that page. If we go to the browser and we refresh this, we will see that we can easily hit on the link and we can go to the other page we want to go. Another element is the table. So in this case, I'm gonna put the p tag. As you can see, I'm using the p tag quite a lot. It's because, well, we just need to use them in this case. So I'm gonna head over there and I'm gonna put the table and do it like that. I'm gonna indent my code, my markup, just so it's easier to read. And then we have a table, first name, last name, age, Jill Smith 50, Eve Jackson that, 94. So in this case, our table, this is gonna be our row. This is gonna be our row. As you can see, it's tr table row and the header, table head, and then the content of the table. So in this case, if we save it and then we refresh it, we can easily see that we have our table, first name, last name, age. We have our James Smith 50, Eve Jackson 94. So by default, we have our table like that. Don't worry about how it's all spread out. That is all controlled by CSS. So think of HTML as the skeleton and the CSS as the clothes you put on, or the skin you put on top of the skeleton to make it look nicer. After that, we're going to look at lists. So lists could be in different types. We could have ordered list or unordered list. In case of ordered lists, so first we're going to look at unordered lists. I'll just put my BR tag here again so we can space out where the table ends, and then I'm going to put our paragraph tag just like we've been doing to say that we are going to be looking at unordered lists, and then I'm going to put the markup for unordered lists. Yeah, I'm copy pasting because this will be a very quick video, so not really, I don't want to start typing out, but you can type it out as you wish. And if we save this, let's head over to the browser, refresh the page again. We can see that we have our unordered lists on the page. Another type of list, I'll just put this back because I like to have my thing well aligned. Another thing we will be looking at is ordered lists. So I'm going to put my BR tag. As you can see, we've used the BR tag a few times, and I'm going to put my P tag again, but this case is going to be an ordered lists. So I'm just going to put that here, go down there, put it there, and I'm going to just put in my ordered lists. Then I'm going to indent it back to the right place so we can read it properly. And we have coffee, tea, milk. Ordered list is the one that we use the numbers in there. So once we go to the browser, check what our ordered list looks like, we see that we have our ordered list in this format. So I think I have covered the basics here. Another thing I'm going to be talking about is the span tag. So in the span tag is what you can use for inline, but in this case, you can put things in with each other. Usually it's good if you want to style part of a paragraph or part of a page or part of a div or part of anything. You can put them in a span tag because it stays in line with the content of that page or that stays in that row. In this case, I'm going to just quickly show you an example of a span tag. So I'm going to just copy this and then change it to span, and in this case I'm gonna put my P tag and I'm gonna call it this is a span, and the span part I'm gonna put that as in a span as well. So I'm gonna call wrap this in a span. And then if you run this, you don't actually see any difference in the HTML markup. There's no difference in the HTML markup because it's exactly like if I've done. I'll just show you a quick example of if I have one without a span. I'm just quickly going to indent this back. So if I take out the span in this case, and I run this in the browser once again, I will see that there will be no difference whatsoever in the two. So what's the point of this span? So if I quickly show you this, another thing I need to quickly talk to you about, you can quickly check or inspect how your elements render in the browser by right click if you use Firefox, or you can right click if you use Chrome. You will see inspect element if you're Chrome. You can hit that. If you are on Firefox and you don't have inspect for Firebug, that's okay. You will still see some sort of inspect element, and then you can easily check, see that this DOM takes the full width of the page with the blue lines. This takes the full width, everything takes the full width. And what I mean by the div is the part where we have the div is this. Everything is wrapped in the div, and the whole blue part is the part that actually shows that the div is all taking the full page, more like a wrapper that wraps everything up together. So in this case, I'll show you the span and what's the difference. So in this case, we have the span, which is different. And if we want to, I don't want to go into CSS yet, but I can quickly show you that I can actually target the span, and I go color, red. And then as you can see, the span is definitely different from every other part of the text. In this case, I have nothing to target. So if I change the color of P to red, the whole line is going to change to red, and we do not want that. I don't want to dive too much into CSS yet in this case, but we'll go back and then I'll refresh my browser just to reset back to where we were. So next tutorial would be about the CSS and how we can actually make this page look very beautiful and nicer than what it is. But now we have a basic HTML markup and everything is all in one place. I hope you have followed and understood this tutorial. There will be a link in the description to have a full what this page looks like in case you just want to download it. Everything is also on this page, code.casadev.com, and you can see more detailed explanation, and you can actually see results if you want to see how it works. The whole code markup for what I've just done, you can easily copy this into your text editor that you've just downloaded, and you should be good to go just like that. All right, next tutorial will be CSS, and I hope to catch you then. See ya.